What's up, guys? This is the Gospel According to Mark with a C. He is I, and I am he. Just taking some time to tell you exactly what's on my mind. Thank you for joining me once again, my friends. And I'm going to kick it off by saying a happy Juneteenth to everybody out there who's smart enough to know what this holiday actually stands for. Now, listen, I'm not a big holiday person. Half the time, I don't even acknowledge my own birthday. It's just the way I feel about things, right? So most of the time these things turned out being like commercial holidays more than anything. You know, people got a million different ways to make money off of them, so I'm not really big on that. All right, you want to like have it in your heart and in your mind what it means to go through Christmas and Thanksgiving, and in this case Juneteenth, the 4th of July. I think it's a very personal thing, but I am not going to speak out against their institution. All right, so I say a happy Juneteenth to everyone who's celebrating out there today. It's a great day in spirit because it's a day that every American, regardless of race, should feel proud of. The fact that America had a terrible institution such as slavery for so long in this country, but we are the country that abolished it and made it unlawful. That's something in itself that should be celebrated, right? But I'm going to get into something around there a little bit later, right? First, I want to get into a couple of things, because one thing I've noticed that since 2021, since Brandon made this thing a national holiday, there's been an awful lot of hypocrisy going on around Juneteenth. And I want to call out both sides of it, right? But right now, I'm going to kick it off with one Mr. Charlie Kirk, social media influencer Charlie Kirk, like I said, with millions of followers that I could not hope to have, but I'm putting some common sense out there because Charlie Kirk sounds like a dickhead. And let's get into what Charlie Kirk had to say on his Twitter feed, shall we? We're going to start off with this, right? Charlie Kirk kicks it off by saying, if Juneteenth was really about emancipation, why not September 22nd, 1862, when Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation? Why not January 1st, 1863, when the proclamation took effect? Why not December 18th, 1865, with the ratification of the 13th Amendment? Because it's not about emancipation, Charlie Kirk says, which is one of America's great moral achievements. Like I said before, it really is. I'm glad he's acknowledging that. But he goes on to say, it's about creating a summertime, race-based competitor 2 weeks before July 4th, which should be the most unifying civic holiday on the calendar. Okay. All right. And then he goes on to say, you should be working today, not taking today off for a CRT-inspired federal holiday that competes with July 4th. And he retweets Candace Owens, who says, this is Candace Owens, guys, not Charlie Kirk. He just retweeted it. He says, or she says, Juneteenth is still ghetto and made up. Hope everyone enjoys it. All right, guys. Now let's talk about a couple of things here, okay? Charlie Kirk, Mr. Kirk, is asking, why would you choose June 19th instead of all of those other dates that he ran down, which is equally as significant? Well, I believe June 19th was the day that they were informed in Texas that they were emancipated, those people who were enslaved, all right? So there's a very specific reason why. That's the way the story goes anyway. Obviously, I was not there. Time travel has not been created yet, so I don't know. But that answers that question very easily. And if you want to go on to press for an answer, you might want to ask yourself this, Mr. Kirk. Ask yourself, why not? It's been over 100 years, right? It's been clearly like over 200 years. So ask yourself, why not those dates? Why did it take to 2021 for somebody to say, we're going to name June 19th? Oh, so that assholes like you can stand up and say, why not this date? Why not that date? Ask yourself, why not that date? It's a damn good question. Why did it take so long? All right? Now, the other point that he's trying to make is that this is somehow undermining or devaluing July 4th. Now, keep in mind, guys, the reasons why I am bringing this up is because, like I said before, he's got over 1 million followers, right? This tweet got a bunch of likes, thousands of likes. So there's a lot of people out there who are wondering the same thing, who clearly have a problem with thinking about this, right? So it's not exactly the same as July 4th, is it? July 4th, 1776 was the day that America was born. We stated our independence from British rule, right? That doesn't have a whole lot to do with slavery and the abolishment of slavery, does it? We're talking about two separate occasions in history, right? So I don't see how one negates the other. I really, really don't, right? The only thing that I can come up with is that, as usual, Americans continue to be afflicted with this terminal disease called racism and bigotry, which means that whenever they identify something by race, we lose our ability to be able to personally identify with that by race, meaning the same thing that you get when people talk about, I don't see myself in a movie, I want to see me. That's the same energy, right? If you don't see yourself in that, then you're immediately going to reject it. So what Charlie Kirk and people like him are doing when they reject June 19th is they're saying that we see this primarily as a black holiday. It's for black people, and those people already have enough. Don't we have July 4th? We can all come together for July 4th, but they don't need their specific Independence Day. But this is not necessarily about black people. This is about America and what we have overcome and why we should be proud that we overcame it. We should be proud that we abolished slavery and made it unlawful. All Americans everywhere should celebrate that. Look at the greatness of our country. Yes, we did some terrible things in the past. Yes, we were abusive to one another, all of us. But we progress as a country. We come together as a country, and we should celebrate these things as a country. But no, people like Charlie Kirk and the people who support him are too busy being hung up on race to say this is something for all of us, even though he said it's a great moral achievement. Take some baby steps, Mr. Kirk. Come forward. All right, it is a great moral achievement for America. So why shouldn't all of America celebrate it? It's because we allow ourselves to have our little hurt feelings and resentments and unresolved feelings towards one another in our history that we don't allow ourselves to come together. And so we get angry and resentful when we see black people marching through the streets and things like that. And black people are no different. But I'm going to get into that part in a minute. I'm just wrapping this part up here. We should all be able to come together to celebrate this great moment in American history when slavery, not based upon race, but slavery as an institution, is something that we overcame as a country. That's the challenge. That's always going to be the challenge for America, because we consider ourselves to be a great melting pot of all different cultures and races and religious creeds and all of these things. So the challenge is always going to be on all of us to show that mutual respect to one another and appreciation for the diversity that we have naturally in this country. All right. And unfortunately, we continue to fail because we always define our relationships and our social settings in this country by race. It's something that we always look at, all of us, not just white people. But the challenge here, when you have someone like Charlie Kirk and what you see going on Twitter, this is something that I've been talking about so for such a long time now. All right, where you have these people who are passive aggressively calling for things to go backwards in time. All right, they're sick of fighting all the time. They're sick of being called racist and bigots and all of that stuff. So they adopt this personality where all they want to do is showcase the hypocrisy, of which there is a lot, admittedly, in the black community. So these are the ones who you will see constantly throwing videos up on Twitter of black people running through the streets and rioting and looting in stores and things like that, doing violent acts and, you know, ratchet behavior and all of that stuff. You just heard Candace Owen talk about it's ghetto. What do you think she's talking about? She's talking about black people, right? Because that's what people liken being ghetto to, right? That type of behavior, animalistic behavior, right? So unfortunately, until we become healed from that affliction, we're going to continue to see things like this, where they just won't give in to accepting that this is a great holiday. And of course, it's a day off, which is something that I'm all for, even if I'm not always all for holidays and things like that. I love me a day off. So Juneteenth is scratching that particular itch. It is what it is, right? Now, the other part that I want to get into, right, because Charlie Kirk is a dickhead. He's full of shit, right? And he sounds very, very insecure. This is something that should be celebrated in America, that we were the greatest country to make slavery unlawful. That's not just a black thing. That's an American thing, and we should be proud of it. But moving on, my challenge, all right? Getting into people on the other side of this, right? You guys know that was in 1865, not even 100 years before that. 1776, of course, was July 4th. July 4th is a great day for Americans as well because we became an independent nation. We wanted to govern ourselves. All right, we were a young nation, so of course we were going to make mistakes. We were going to do terrible things to one another. But progression, that's what it's all about, progression. But my point is, right, a few years back, it became in fashion to take a knee to the playing of the national anthem. You hear people saying all the time, July 4th is something that they reject, because they feel like it's a racist holiday. It's not something they want to have a part in. They don't want to celebrate it. You see it every July 4th on the internet. People want to play down, or black people want to play down July 4th, and also social justice warriors. If they had their way, they would do away with the holiday. Now, my thing is that how can you turn around to the people who do celebrate Juneteenth, who do see this as a positive, powerful, pro-black holiday? But like I said, I see it as an American holiday, but there are some people who see it as a pro-black, powerful, empowering American holiday. Why would you celebrate that and not celebrate July 4th? Because you are celebrating the emancipation of those people who were enslaved in a young country such as America, but you won't celebrate the birth of that country, the very country that grew to abolish that slavery and make it unlawful. All right, so in a way, you're celebrating the greatness of this country to abolish and make unlawful slavery, but you're not going to celebrate the birth of that country that made that abolition possible. You see the hypocrisy that I'm talking about? Either we're going to be a part of this or we're not. Now, I've already said a long time ago on video that I believe that integration was a mistake at the time, because I don't believe in forced integration. I believe we were growing in a way where the community would have been stronger. You know, because I know when people hear me say that, they're like, well, you just wanted us to stay separate but unequal. No, I actually have faith in black people. I believe that we could have established schools, we could have established businesses, and we were. When we integrated, we lost a lot of that. We lost a lot of black-owned businesses that would allow us to compete in the marketplace and subsequently make this country a much better place. So when I say that I believe the integration at that time was wrong, I believe that it was premature in our development as black people. I believe that we should have had the opportunity to establish schools and businesses and things like that, like I said, so we could come together and we could work to the betterment of the country. We could contribute to the growth and the power of the country. I believe in the potential of black people, right? So this is what I'm talking about. However, when you get into June 19th and July 4th and things like that, this is what I'm talking about. Are we or are we not going to be a part of this? Because if we're not going to be a part of this, which is what we seem to be heading towards, we're determined to let these people take us back, even though America in spirit is the best, the greatest concept in world history, where you could get all of these people together to understand the beauty of God's diversity and work together with all of our differences. Because I'm not saying that we're all alike and all of that stuff. I'm saying that we are different, but you use our different strengths and we work past our different weaknesses to come together to make ourselves a stronger society. This is what I'm saying. This is something to be proud of. This is something that we should continue to work towards. But unfortunately, we let the enemies of all of these things infiltrate us. And now, here we are, where we are separated right down to the TV shows that we watch. You know, everything is just carved up, and it's not the way this was ever meant to be. We were meant to seek one another out as good human beings. Be proud of your race. If you're white, you should 100% be proud to be white. White people, European people have contributed greatly, monumentally, to world history. I shiver to think about where we would be in this world if not for the contributions of white people. Black people have contributed monumentally to this world in all different types of ways. And if anybody is out there laughing at that, that's part of the problem. Okay, because it absolutely 100% is true. Every single human being that God created on this planet is useful, is priceless, and is productive. And also on the other side of it, we can be useless, we can be counterproductive, and we can be destructive. You know, the challenge is on us in our lifetimes to rise to these occasions and to push back against those who would do the devil's work, the work of evil, to keep us separated. It's not wrong to celebrate our achievements. It's not wrong to acknowledge the differences that we have when those differences are for the upliftment of all. And ultimately, a rising tide lifts all boats. So if you do have people who are feeling good about themselves, who the fuck are you to come out and dump on it the way that Candace Owens just did? You see the smiles on people's faces this June 19th when they're marching through the streets and they're happy. Oh, God forbid that people have a little bit of self-esteem. No, you want to call it ghetto. Now, how do you think it makes people feel when you continue to call them ghetto? They're full of shit. They're lazy and all of that stuff. It is a self-fulfilling prophecy. This is what I've been talking about. All right. But unfortunately, as with everything else, man-made holidays tend to expose man-made hypocrisies. You can see that on Christmas. Why not Christmas? There is no, as far as I know, it is said, I'm not a scientist, I'm not a biblical scientist. It is said that there's no biblical evidence that Jesus was born on December 25th. Right? But we accept it. It makes people happy. It's the reason for the season. We give and we love. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not that person who every Christmas is going to speak out against it. You know what I mean? Oh, this thing is ghetto. We all know that it's commercialized. We all know this. But for the good that it does people, you leave it the hell alone. But that's what we see here. People need to rise to this occasion to think about these things. Think about what June 19th means to people. You know, what July 4th means to people. I dare say what every day means to people. But no, we're so busy fucking with each other that we totally lose sight of that. All right, guys, so that's it, man. It's like going on something like 17 minutes right here. You know me. But this is my June 19th address. Just reel it in, people. You know, to Charlie Kirk, to Candace Owens, to all of these people who are co-signing on them, to all of these black people out here who are dumping on July 4th. Listen, man. Either we're a part of this or we're not. Either America is going to be for the people, by the people, one nation under God, indivisible with liberty and justice for all, or we are not. And if we're not, then we deserve what the hell we get. Thank you guys for listening. I'll catch you on the next one. Like, share, subscribe. This is The Gospel According to Mark with a C. Rock on.